central bank has sold $30 billion in foreign reserves, and the country's currency, which is the shekel, has declined to a 7-year low. Now, the deadly incursion by Hamas and the declaration of war by Israel has plunged the Middle East in darkness, and there will be economic implications for the region, apart from the human cost, with the death toll already above 1,000. Let's listen into what these costs could be. Here's an explainer by my colleague Sumita. Kareer.
This war will take time. It will be difficult. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said after a murderous attack on Israel by Hamas that escalated into a full-blown war. Even though there's support to Israel from Britain and France, but a report claiming that Iranian security officials helped plan the attack increases the risk of it spiraling into a proxy regional war, and ramifications could be multi-pronged. Exactly what? Let's decode these one by one. Number one, the markets. Israel's benchmark index fell over 6% in the aftermath of the deadly attack. The shekel plunged to the weakest level since 2016 as investors dumped the local currency amidst uncertainty over ramifications of the conflict. A widening fiscal deficit on top of a war definitely doesn't help. Next up, global oil prices. Well, the fresh crisis in Israel rekindles the 1973 Yom Kippur War that pushed some Arab nations to impose an oil embargo on those nations that supported Israel in that conflict. That in turn triggered quadrupling of oil prices and led to a large-scale gasoline shortage through the developed world that includes the United States. Oil prices today as well went up around 4%. So this current crisis could mean a fresh oil crisis for the global economy, which could signal global central banks to spike interest rates, which are already dealing with high interest rates, which is the aftermath of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Next up, the Saudi-Israel deal. The key motive being speculated for Hamas to have launched this surprise attack on Israel is to derail a possible deal to normalize Saudi Arabia and Israel's relations. This was being brokered by the United States and was close to being finalized. The Saudis see a potential deal with Israel to further their interests through security guarantees in return for establishing ties with Israel. For Israel, this would mean recognition by the most powerful Arab state of Saudi Arabia. The current conflict definitely is a setback for this process, and in future, if Iran's intervention is confirmed, then the US, according to experts, is likely to seek tightening sanctions on the nation's oil exports. Next up, the India-Middle East-Europe corridor. Well, the ambitious India-Middle East-Europe corridor to build shipping and railway links to ensure a free flow of commerce, energy and digital communication that involves Saudi Arabia could get impacted due to the crisis. Although it's a very long-term infrastructure project, but certainly it gets impacted if every country on the route is not on board. So it's still a developing situation in the region. Eventually, it all boils down to the fact whether the conflict is contained or it in fact widens in scope.